Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Legal Minds podcast. My name is Ntuthuko Mgeba, director of the Babalwa Inc. And today we are joined by Ms. Babalwa Kotana.
Thank you.
How are
Director of KOTANA BABALWA INC.
Oh, yes, director. Okay, no, you were going to tell us that. Don't rush. How are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
No, man, I'm okay. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
On an early Saturday morning.
Yes, you've been saying I must come here, and I've been like, yo.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It's tough. It's tough. No, thank you. Thank you for coming. I think, it's been a long time coming. Yeah. And obviously, there are reasons why I wanted you to come so that we can have a particular discussion. Yeah.
Because the country is burning.
Yes, the country is burning. You know, relationships are burning.
Yes,
families are being torn apart here.
Right.
So first things first, can you please tell us about yourself and your legal journey? Why did you choose this profession?
Oh my gosh, there's no story there. Well, I'm Babalwa, as you know.
Yes.
Everyone home. I am from Eastern Cape, Port St. John's, a very small town in the coastal side. Of Eastern Cape. The Kolele Nkonzweni by parents abangabifundisi. And then I went to school at Walter Sisulu University. I wanted to do politics, and it was full. Okay. So I ended up doing law.
Okay.
That was the closest. That was my second option actually. And then I didn't like it. Started, dropped out, came back. Finished.
Nice.
And came to Pretoria, where I did my PLT and then my articles at a private law firm in town. And then, wrote my boards. 2019, got admitted. And I thought, I don't want to work. It's hard working for people. The money is not there. I thought there was money here. I was wrong.
You should have gone politics.
I thought there was money here. I was wrong. But anyway, yes, and I opened my law firm. I resigned from work. Wanted to do something on my own. It was a tricky start. A very rough start. But I've made it. God has been good. And I'm here now sitting with about 7 people working at my firm in town, Pretoria Central. We do a lot of family, a lot of loss and fund, third-party claims, a lot of labor. We're trailblazing there with labor law.
Yeah.
Doing the most.
Nice. Okay.
Yes, and that's about that.
I think one day we'll come back and have a discussion about labor.
Right, we should.
Yeah, with some HR execs. Yes. So, just to have that discussion because I think it's also very important. Yes. But we'll get to that now. So today we want to talk about marriages.
Yes.
Customary marriages versus civil marriages. Yes. What are they? Before we even get there, should people actually be getting married?
That's a big question. That's a big question for this generation. That's a very important question.
Yeah.
Should people be getting married?
And because are people getting married for the right reasons? Is it because they look good on social media?
Is it because there's money?
Is it because it's money?
Is it because life is better when you're doing it with somebody else? I think people should still be getting married.
They should still. You still believe in the
believe in the union of marriage.
Yes.
I think it is such a beautiful thing that God created, and I think people should try and make it work.
Okay.
Should they be doing it the way that they're doing it now? I don't know. I think each part. I almost said each party. I'm not in court. Each person must decide. I think because in Hlele lawyer, so in my mind it's like, each person must decide and how do they want their marriage to look like. Yeah. And I always say to people when I advise them, prenup is something that is going to be like a constitution for mchado wako. Right. It's like living in South Africa and you have never read the constitution of the country. You don't know what is what. You're just walking and you're breaking the laws. You don't even know if you're breaking the law or not, right? So having a constitution is like something that directs how you live your life as a citizen. So a prenup contract does the same thing. At least it gives you a picture of what you want. So I always say to people that at least know what is it that you're getting into. Sit down with your partner, have an open conversation. What are we doing? Why are we doing it? How is it going to work? How are we going to make it work? Not what are other people doing in their marriage? How are we going to make this work for us? And then you go for that. So I think people should still get married, but people should have important conversations before they do it.
Why do you think it worked for maybe, I'm not sure about your parents, but like my parents, for instance, they still married 45 years in.
45
imagine.
years.
So how do you think it works for a lot of the older generation?
Man, my parents have been married for 30, how old is my older sister? I don't want to give out my age. I don't want to give out my age. They've been married for about 38 years, 38, 39. You know, I always say to people, I've never seen my parents argue. I've never heard my parents argue. But we all stayed in the same house. Never heard them. I've heard them giggle. I've heard them laugh. I've heard them, I can't mention the things that they do to entertain each other, but for us it was strange, but for them it's a couple, something that they do together, and they would laugh and all of those things. But we've never had our parents argue in front of us. And there's no ways that in those years they were not having arguments. They were having arguments. They were having a lot happening there.
They had to be,
but we were not a part of that. So I think the elder generation knows how to cover each other and love each other right, even in times where other people would be unkind. They know how to love each other right, even in moments where they are not comfortable. They know how to serve each other, even after an argument. My mom still serves my dad. You know, my dad still shows up and says, I'm coming to pick you guys up for this. I want to provide this. I want to do this. He still becomes the man of the house, whether they fought or not. So I think even in our relationships, before we even get married, we struggle to find common ground. We always like, if you do this, then I'm walking away, you know. And I think our parents don't have that. They didn't have that thing of, I have a lot of options, I can do better. Yeah. You know, they didn't have that. So maybe that's why they stayed.
So tell me then, a customary marriage. Yeah. Well, what is that? And a civil marriage.
Yeah. So customary marriage is our traditional marriages as Africans, right? We obviously have different tribes in South Africa, as you would know. However, custom is custom. There's no ways that vendors can do something so drastically different from what closer people can do, right? Because it's African culture at the end of the day. So customary marriage is a marriage that is done in terms of the customs of South African indigenous people. And that is us. And then civil marriage is people going to court to sign, or Home Affairs to sign, and getting their paper and becoming married, and that is a civil marriage. Customary marriage, we have to celebrate our customs, we have to pay the lowballers, we have to negotiate, we have to do all of those things. Whereas with civil, you just go and sign, or you do your prenup, and then you're good to go.
Yeah, so does one weigh heavier than the other? Because people usually do the customary celebrations, and then they say, no, now we're going to do the white wedding and sign.
I hear that a lot.
You see, so does that mean that they don't see themselves as married?
It does appear. It does appear that people don't see themselves as married after the lobola has been paid. Especially, I'll tell you, with us Christians, there's this thing of you are not married until there's a white wedding. Right? So I would assume that a lot of African people that are from these churches, they would assume that they are not married. They will have the lobola done, they will have the celebration and welcome makoti and all of those things. But until they do the white wedding, they will say they are not married. And that is a mistake, because then there is no one that is more important than the other. Marriages are equal. Customary marriages are equal to civil marriages. There is nothing that we can say is less or better. Yeah.
Because a lot of times people, they do the customary and then they go to Home Affairs and they sign so they can have a certificate. Yes. And I said, no, but you can just go register your customary marriage. That certificate is the same as a civil. Yeah. Instead of because you should do your lobola, then after your lobola has been done, then go and apply for your customary marriage certificate. Exactly. It holds the same legal power as the civil marriage certificate. Definitely. There is no difference. So when is a couple deemed customarily married?
A couple is deemed customary married once they fulfill the requirements of a customary marriage. Now, there are about 4 or 5 requirements of a customary marriage.
Okay.
right? And now the problem is whether or not those requirements should all be fulfilled for that marriage to be deemed as a valid customary marriage. Yeah, and it seems like the answer is no. The way that the courts interpret the law. People can go and negotiate. We say maybe the bride price is 150,000, God forbid. But anyway.
At least you said God forbid. Okay.
Because I know other families are very expensive. I know of a lady whose bride price was 200,000. And I was like, yo.
I hope that marriage is still ongoing.
The marriage?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it is.
Okay,
they are still holding on because they had to now fight the family to say, guys, you're being unkind. You're being unkind. 200,000 in this economy is crazy. But yes. So let's say the bride price is 120,000. You pay maybe 25,000 because you don't have money yet, or 40, whatever amount you put down. It means obviously there will be a negotiation first. You don't just walk in there and pay. You write the letter. So that is the starting now of the process of the customs of people, right? So you write the letter. I don't know if do you guys email these days or you don't know.
Make a plan. You get the letter down there.
Because I know you send the letter back in the day. WhatsApp. Now, I don't know. Maybe we send it on my WhatsApp or my TikTok, guys. But, but yes, so you write the letter, you send it to the woman's house, and then they will set a date, the negotiations will start. They will go and negotiate. That is now another requirement that has been fulfilled. Whether the money has been paid in full or not, the negotiations have happened. Whatever amount was put there, and now you are being recognized as Umakoti, what this family. There has to be a celebration. Obviously, when you are there on the day, they might not have a big celebration, but they might have a meal. Yeah. Maybe these days they might go to T&T, and eat something nice there. Both families in a restaurant. You don't know. We cannot measure how people change their customs and stuff like that. But that would have happened however way it happens. There would have been obviously consent from the people that are getting married. I know this person, I know the person. That would have been done, which is one of the requirements. The age will be one of the requirements that there must be majors, obviously. In a situation where they are minors, that's a story for another day. But yes, they must be of age. So once these requirements have been fulfilled, then we would say a person is married in communal property. Once that lobola has been paid, you guys have had the food and everything is nice. Mauso to papa, brothers. So papa isa umyeni wako. You're not saying bye to your fiance or your boyfriend. You are saying goodbye to your husband.
I think that's where the crux of the situation is. Because of different traditions, obviously there are different processes. Maybe it's the letter, the negotiations, the payment, the exchanging of gifts, the welcoming of the bride, the welcoming of the groom, and then there's like a final celebration, and that's when you're deemed.
Because the cultures won't be the same.
Yeah. Yes. So it's because it feels like the courts have now just used one blanket system for all the traditions. I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if that's a bad thing. I just think it messes up with a lot of the cultures.
The culture and the way of doing things.
Because now, I mean, there was a case, I won't mention the names, but there was a whole argument about whether or not, because the wife was not introduced to the family of the husband, that the parties were not deemed married. And then when the courts went to even say, no, the whole issue of welcoming a bride into it's unconstitutional now. You see? So now there's a challenge between the courts and our traditions. And I think, and I've always said this, the problem is that I don't think I think there's a gap between the courts and maybe and traditional the chiefs. The learned traditional chiefs, because they are the ones who are supposed to educate the court and say this is how it's done in different cultures.
But I wonder how the court accommodate that then, all the cultures.
It's going to be a difficult one.
That would be quite a difficult one.
They maybe have to set up certain types of courts to deal with
different cultures. Oh, with our economy and our government, I can imagine what would happen in those courts.
But there's a gap, you know,
there's a gap.
There's
a gap because someone actually asked me and said, no, but why is it that the Constitution would, the Constitutional Court would invalidate or validate a marriage that in our customs, if they are saying maybe, yes, if in our customs, if the lobola is not paid, then there's no marriage. Why would the Constitutional Court now say there is a marriage if that is our custom? Why would the court say no? Because a letter was written, because a celebration was done, because if you are closer. You see? So now the marriage has taken place.
Exactly.
Why would the courts now be more valuable than our custom? Yeah, that is very tricky.
Because now people do all these processes, right? The lobola stage. And then afterwards they've done the feast. Now they come back home and they start planning the white wedding. And then that is when they now come to us and say, we want to do an ante-nuptial contract.
And then now the lawyers do the ante-nuptial contract.
And that's another question.
Now I need to ask why? Why are we doing that?
Do they do it because they don't know? Because, I mean, you could come in you can come to my office with your
and I don't
person,
tell you
and you don't tell me. You just say we're getting married.
Yeah.
You see? Aren't we supposed to ask if you guys have done any processes before? Because it's going to come back and haunt you.
You do ask. You have to ask.
Yeah.
Especially as a notary and you're busy drafting that, you must ask. Because otherwise, what would be the point of you drafting the prenup if these people already done other stuff?
Yeah, and I think it should be mentioned in the ANC that the parties have confirmed that there have been no previous marital celebrations.
So that we don't get in trouble. Because,
exactly. You know what I'm saying? And I think...
Because, other people would be like, okay, when my lawyer didn't advise me properly about this, then... And I'm suffering now because now this person is taking half of my things and that is not what we agreed on.
Exactly.
So, sir...
What's going on? Yeah.
What is happening?
What is going on? Yeah. So I think with that Constitutional Court ruling... Yeah. I haven't read up on it much, I'm not going to lie to you, but it's something that I've always been preaching about anyway. Before the negotiations see me, I tell all my friends.
Yes.
If they don't see me before then, they don't. And I'm like, but why? Or they come the day before, now they rushed everything. Yeah. But I've been telling you for a year because you know what I'm saying. So then they do the negotiations and then they go to a lawyer and then this is the situation. I know there's a guy now who came to me yesterday. And he said he wants to do, he says, my wife and I want to do an ANC.
My wife and I.
That's what he said. And I said, well, okay, what do you mean? But you guys are already married. Oh, then he's like, okay, can we do it now? Because I told him, but an ante-nuptial contract needs to be done before. Yes. I mean, even the name says it's anti. Yeah. So he's like, okay, can we do a post-nuptial contract? Just change one or two things, we'll sign it. And I'm like, no, but then that's a whole high court application.
Yeah, now you have to go to now you have to pay.
Now, it's serious money. Well, it's a serious process. Yes. Well, look, it's not serious, but it's a simple court application. But now it's a longer process, and now it's an issue like, dude, I didn't know that. And I'm like, And post-nuptial contracts are very interesting also. I think it's also one of the reasons that may lead to that conversation with your spouse at that time.
Yes.
It is probably a very difficult conversation.
It is.
Yeah. Because now you are married, everything is fine, you're in community of property, and now all of a sudden...
You must explain.
Yeah. I had a guy, he came, he wanted to do that because he was starting his own business. He left his job and what. And he said, I want to do this thing. And I told him the process. Like, okay, fine, it's cool. And I said, okay, I just need to consult you and your wife. He said, why does my wife need to know about this?
Of course she needs to know.
And I'm like, hey, man, that court application, there's two applicants. It's you and your wife.
Yes.
You can't do it alone.
You can't do it alone.
So I think, and that ultimately actually led to the divorce. Because he did start the business. He didn't do the contract, but he started the businesses, and they didn't take off. And it led to...
What would then cause a divorce in that situation? or they were
I think one of the reasons is finance. I think there's not a good communication between couples regarding finance, issues of finance. Yeah. I think there's just expectations. If I meet you today, I take you out for a date. I pay for everything. Yeah. It's a nice date. Yeah. I come back, ask you out again to a nicer restaurant. An expectation. Now we're doing this for a week or a month. Now, okay, sharp. We're in a relationship, cool. You know, on your birthday, I take you to Cape Town. Then, you know, on my birthday, I take you to Japan. You know? Your birthday? You know what I'm saying? There's another expectation. Now you're like, okay, my man is financially good. Stable. But at the same time, you don't know my financial situation. Yes. I'm just showing you because I want to show to you that I can take care of you. Yeah. And then when you do get married, then you realize, no, man, this guy is actually in a lot of debt. Yeah. You know. And we don't ask the important questions. Yeah, like, can I see your statements? Yeah. Let's talk about finance, you know. So now when we are married 10 years in, and now I have to come to you and say, hey, baby, I want to start my own business. Yeah. Regardless of whether or not I'm financially good at that point. Yeah. I think now there's going to be a shift in the household now. Who's going to be paying the bills? Because obviously starting your own business. Yeah, it's stressful. If you're not getting a tender of 50 million, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, so you know when you started your business, 3,000 there, 4,000, you know, that sometimes zero. You know, exactly. So I think now there's a shift. Yeah. Now there's an expectation on the other party to hold the fort. And maybe that other party doesn't want to do that. Why am I doing that? Yeah. You know, my money is my money. Yes. You're the man. You're the guy. You also, I don't want to bring gender. I'm trying to not bring gender. You're the man provider. You are the provider. Yes. You know, so why am I being brought in to now to the so I think that's what, and also as men also, you know, it hurts us, you know, that our wife has to now come in and wear and pay that situation, you know. But I mean, obviously it's for your own business, and some people just want to start their own business. I mean, I had a friend who was working for corporate more than 20 years, a big guy, and he was tired of it, but he couldn't leave because his girlfriend at the time was completely against it. You know, this guy actually just wanted to leave and maybe spend a year on the boat. Working as a bartender, you know. And that's what he wanted to do. But it was an issue with him, and I mean, they eventually broke up for other issues. You see, now these conversations that people do not talk about before they get into marriages or before they sign these things are the reason why people break up. And then now we have this high rate of divorces in the country, not because maybe people don't like marriages, it's just that we don't have the important conversations that would keep us together when we hit a certain hump. Now, it means even in our contracts, we need to at least, you know, highlight these things. Let's be clear. What is what? Who's who? Doing what? You know, if this thing separates, if it doesn't work out, how are we going to go about dissolving this thing? And I always say to people that having a prenup, like I was saying earlier, having a prenup is like having a blueprint, like a clear picture of how your marriage overall is going to look like as far as your finances and assets is concerned. You know, and I think it's a step that we must all be willing to take without, you know, being hesitant as to whether the love is there or not. I feel like people feel like when you sign prenups, you know, the love is not there. That's another thing. You don't want to be with me for the longest time. I'm like, why are you hiding money from me? Why don't you want me to get some of your money? Yes, why must I not get some of your money? And all, you know, people can just leave those things outside of decision making and just try to be practical of what works. If you are meeting a young lady, you can see this one is fire. This one is going to want to run businesses and do that. Why are you in commercial property with somebody like that? What if she gets into some businesses that are going to get your whole household into a trap, money trap, you know? And same with guys. You know, guys are very adventurous. It's better that you marry outside of, you know, commercial property. If my woman is driving a Lamborghini, got a house in Stain City, I am not signing any contract.
You are going to pay that lobola immediately.
I'm not paying no.
Because I know that we get
contract.
excited. We get excited. The minute a guy says a ring, a lobola, we get excited. But it's very dangerous.
It is. It is.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
Because now we're sitting with a problem now in the country. People don't know what is what.
So we touched on the anti-nuptial contract. So we say anti-nuptial.
Yeah.
The Americans say prenup, but technically speaking, it's the same thing. Yeah. So the anti-nuptial contract that must be signed. What is that? It's
a contract, basically, like I was saying. So prenup contract is a contract. We are saying we have these assets. I have these assets. Or this is my value coming into the marriage. And we are deciding that this belongs to me and this belongs to him.
Yeah.
Once we get married, we're not joining our assets. A prenup contract where we are being married out and out of the system, of the income and property system. We are basically saying whatever I make during the marriage is mine, whatever you make is yours. People can even have separate wills, while they are married. They can buy properties, they can sell properties, because there's nothing that is joining. There's nothing that is joining them as, there's nothing joining their assets, basically. But other people get married out of the income to property regime with the accrual system.
Yes, okay.
Yeah. Meaning that if I had a 1 million house coming into the marriage and you had a 500,000 house coming into the marriage, it means that those are our properties separately. They do not belong to the marriage. But then obviously we get into the marriage, and whatever it is that we're going to accrue during the marriage, that is what we are going to discuss at a time when we dissolve the marriage.
And under split.
Yes, the split.
Okay, who gets what? That's an interesting one. So community of property.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people talk, but what are the dangers, or what are the consequences of being married in community of property?
Oh, the danger.
Yeah. I don't want to say danger, right? Because like I said, our parents got married. They made it work. So there's no dangers per se. Let me say, what are the consequences of being married in community of property? What does that entail?
Yeah. I'm going to answer that. There's something interesting that just came to my mind.
Yeah.
My parents were married under
Oh.
So they married at the time when Olomisa was the one who paid Transkei. So all of the people that got married during that time, they actually married out of community property. How interesting is that?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was quite interesting. I said, I wonder why did they not make this automatic out of community, and then you choose in community.
Oh, okay. But it was actually a choice to go into. Okay, it wasn't automatic.
No, it wasn't. So what was automatic?
So if they had to, and I'm touching wood, if they had to part ways. Yeah.
It's out.
So the courts recognize that the marriage is out of community property.
Yes. It's out and out because it's under that law at the time.
And that law is not, they might not say that it's unconstitutional, that law. It was against the woman.
Maybe they can challenge it now.
Yeah, I think, people are challenging religious.
I didn't know that they were automatically married out, which was very interesting for me. I was like, maybe we should all be married out automatically, and then we apply for in.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be interesting.
Yeah,
how did they do that?
Yeah.
That should apply in the whole country. Okay, all right.
But what are the consequences of married in community?
So the consequences of married in community property. One is that your finances are not as free as they would have been if you were married. I don't know if people that are married should have free finances. I think when you're married, your finances should be joined. But anyway, your finances are not free. Like you can't just buy stuff without your spouse knowing, including property. You can't just spend money on cars and stuff like that. There's always have to be a consulting between the two of you. So, okay, this is what I want, or this is what is in now.
Spousal consent.
Money, and this is what I want to do with it. Let's discuss and the wills, obviously, they have to be joined. You sign together for everything you guys are doing. Some guy went and got married to another lady, one married to somebody else in community property. And I said to her, she must go and sue for half of the lobola money that was paid out to the other ladies.
That was nice. Okay.
Because that's money that belongs to
the marital
money
estate
that belongs to the marriage. So you can't take 200,000 and go and spend it on a wedding without me consenting to that money being used. So I guess there's a freedom there that is not nice. And obviously when you get divorced, you have to share everything equally.
So two more questions and the issues of marriage. How is a customary marriage terminated?
The same way any other marriage will be terminated.
Okay.
You have to, if you did not go and register your marriage after you got married, you can still go and register now that you want to get divorced and get your
But does that registration still need to happen?
Well, it can happen,
because,
or your lawyers can
because if
use
there's
other documentation to
because
show that
I think a lot of that now at the regional courts they want pictures.
They do. They want pictures.
And
they
maybe
want
a letter.
They want letters
from a chief or whoever was president. So
but we meet a lot of clients who say that everyone is dead. There's no chief. There is no mother. There's no uncle. There's no.
I think with a lot of estate issues, there's cases going on right now where the husband may be passed on, and the family is not wanting the wife, and the wife is trying to register because he can still register a customary marriage post death. But the family is now saying, no, she's never been...
Yeah, and maybe if the chief is not there to help her...
It's a problem. Now you got to take it to court.
Yeah. It is now more money.
I think that's also just what do you call it? Deceased estates.
Yeah. It's something that, especially for us, African people, I don't know where we get this thing wrong. Especially with the kids and the wives, because sometimes there's too many wives and
that's the problem. Too many children.
And
things change if I'm a breadwinner. So for our household, I'm the breadwinner, and I'm also a breadwinner for my family, my parents and my brothers and their children and what. Now I die. Now you have this. All of a sudden, they don't recognize you as my wife.
Because now they are seeing that
there's money
here, and now the spring has stopped. Now we must keep it going even after his death, and now your children and your wife now are gonna suffer. Right? Yeah. So that is why it is important for us African people to have lawyers. Let's have lawyers. Let's get the correct advice. People must not take it like this thing and see it as a cost. It's like having a medical doctor. Having a lawyer is like you cannot just not have a family doctor.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So people need to take it seriously and when I'm a lawyer, because then they'll be able to advise them on certain things, and they will help them to avoid certain things. I feel like sometimes people come to lawyers when already they've caused so much of a mess. When now we have to fix something that we're like,
it's a mess.
How did we get here?
And by the time the lawyers come on board, the mess is...
Yeah. And now we are under pressure. Now
and you're having a meeting with all the family, beneficiaries.
And they're breathing down on it.
It's a problem. Right. Yeah. If you can't... And the thing is, it's very hard to have very calm meetings with them because it's obviously emotional. You know, this one's fighting with the stepmother, it becomes very emotional.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so it's very hard to get your legal advice across. But it is what it is. But that's also very important, that the issue of deceased estates. I think I did a few interviews on radio, and it just wasn't enough. Every time I did 2 on the same topic, and the questions were still flooding. I even gave out my number. People called. It's a very serious thing, and I think we need to dedicate a lot more time to discuss the issues of
I agree.
But in closing, what are your reasons? What do you think the biggest reasons for divorces? I think, as I mentioned, finance. I think finance is the biggest thing.
The biggest reasons for divorce. I don't want to sound like a philosopher. In my profession, in my line of work, I've realized that most people, they divorce because this person is cheating. Others divorce because their husband is addicted to gambling. Others are addicted to prostitutes. There's different
prostitutes. Okay.
Yes, sex is is something that can be an addictive thing.
Yeah.
To some people. So I've had a client who the husband was addicted to that, and it was prostitutes all the time, and obviously that.
But he didn't love them though. It was just...
No, but come on, stop! What? That is not the
love them. It was just an outlet. It was just an outlet. Just an outlet, man. Is that a real reason for divorce?
Coke, right?
And the judge must say no, but guys, come on. Did you take him for counseling?
Right?
Mm-hmm. Did you guys do role play maybe in the bedroom? Spice things up? But okay,
guys,
it's a reason.
So she decided to leave because there was a problem in the marriage. I know others divorced because of women being too committed to the church and stuff like that. I've had a couple of that. Yeah. But I think for me, people are divorced because of this theory of compatibility. I think when people feel like they're no longer compatible, they leave each other. When people feel like, I don't like how he said this or how he's doing this because at first he was doing it like this, so now I thought we were compatible. Now I feel like we are no longer compatible, so maybe I should just leave.
Shish.
Right? So I think the illusion of thinking that we have people that we can be so compatible with that they don't change and evolve, that we're going to be with them for the rest of our life, that they will remain the same while we're with them is the reason why people divorce, because we're not wanting to accept that people change during marriage. If we get married today, in the next 2 years, I'm not going to be the same person. Would that then mean that we're not compatible? Or would that mean I've evolved? And are you trying to adjust to that, me evolving? Am I trying to adjust to you evolving as a man going forward? But...
I think also when the introduction of now children coming in. Yes. I watched an interview, one of the popular podcasts not so long ago. There were two artists that were talking, and the one guy, they asked the person being interviewed was asked how long he had been married for. And I think he said they've been married for 17 years. He said on paper they're married for 17 years, but they've actually been married for 4 years.
Okay.
That's what he said. And obviously they asked for an explanation, and he said something along the lines as they got married fine, but they were just doing, the children came in, they were just doing they weren't doing married couple things. They were doing
just responsibilities.
Yeah, so they were kind of like losing who they were, the reasons why they actually got married. Together. And then they had a sit down at some points and said, no, man, we don't do married couples things anymore. It's everything is for the children. You come home from work, you eat, you sleep, wake up, go to work, come back, you sleep, So it was a routine. It's stuck in a routine. So they had to. So now he says in the last 4 years, he feels like they're actually, now they're married.
Yeah. And the thing about routine is the routine does not necessarily have an emotion attached to it. When I wake up in the morning, I know that I need to remove this so that when it comes, he can find this not there, so that it does not get irritated. I'm not doing that out of, I want to do something nice, out of something that I'm feeling for my partner. I'm doing it because it's in the morning. We need to have a day that is moving, and we're just moving with the day. So I think that's a good thing. People touching base and trying to come together and trying to figure out what works. Because marriage, like we were saying before we started shooting, to say, relationships are not a one blanket type of thing. One thing might work for this couple, this might work for this couple. People just need to find what works for them and be able to come and sit down and say, bruh, we've lost it. Let's fix something, right?
No. But thank you very much. I think in closing, I first want to say thank you very much before we get there. Thank you for actually being one of our guest speakers at our networking events. I just want to thank you. I know when you come to the event, you come with the team. Yeah. You come with the squad.
All the time.
And unfortunately, the last time I had a whole table set out for you guys, but there was an issue with the venue.
Yeah.
But thank you very much. I think the support, that kind of support, it's welcomed, there's people who come there, potential funders, they see the importance because all these people are coming there for a specific reason, to network and improve their lives, So tell us about what your thoughts are on those events.
Oh, those events have been so interesting. I think for me also to meet young people, to help, to give advice. I think for some of us, we did not have this mentorship and all of these things. So it helps, like it's motivating for me to see young people that I can at least try and give a direction so that they don't do the same mistakes that we did, without having help. I think for me, that's the most interesting thing, meeting these young women, these young men. And obviously also the last time is connecting people with this AI person.
Yes, Wisdom Table,
we never know how our work and AI, sometimes comes together, because as lawyers, we are these paper rigid people who think that we don't need anything outside of what we know. But we do. So it's interesting to have a different perspective of what is happening in the world, and especially in the technology world as a legal practitioner. So exposing yourself to all of those things, it's quite a big take for me when I go to these events.
Yeah, I think the funny thing, and I realized this yesterday. So my so obviously the events is mostly about people walking around, communicating, talking. Yeah. And it didn't really hit me until yesterday. Yesterday I was at an event, at a networking event, some law firm in Sandton. There was a presentation, and afterwards there was, maybe 30 minutes networking session that happened, about 30 minutes to an hour. And I struggled, I was just standing there like,
and you like standing in the corner.
And I'm like, damn, okay. So at least at my events, I kind of know a lot of people who are coming, so I'm able to talk, and a lot of people come to me because I'm the host.
People come to you because you're hosting.
But now it's not my thing. Yeah. So I'm just like, wow. So a lot of the people that come, they struggle. Because a lot of people say, no, I came and I left, they come alone.
They struggle to
interact with people. Yeah. I mean, eventually yesterday, I was able to
I wonder
come out of my shell and start talking to people.
What causes people not to because they're shy, or because they're just not comfortable in the setup, or confidence?
I don't know. I mean, I'm naturally a shy person, so I think every now and then it kicks in, especially in settings that I'm not familiar with. Yeah. But I was just studying the room at first. And then saying, okay, I just need to speak to someone first, and then once I get to speak to that person, then
you should take me next time. I'm very easy with breaking the ice with everybody.
No, it was a very interesting session. I mean, it turned out to be a good session. Not better than my ones, obviously, but not better than my ones. So thank you for coming. Thank you for just being a supporter. Yeah. Obviously, this is a foundation that I've started. It's a non-profit, and obviously we're trying to grow it, trying to make it a whole actual running operation with employees and all of that. So we're looking for funding. We've been talking to people. So obviously, your continued support is appreciated. And if is it Babalwa Kotana Attorneys, or is it KOTANA BABALWA Attorneys?
KOTANA BABALWA INC ATTORNEYS.
Okay. Yeah, if you guys can sponsor a few of our podcast episodes, that'd be great. You know what I mean? Right. And that'd be great. But with that said, thank you for coming today. I know it was very early. You came from a bit far to reach us and do this session today. I did say that it was very important that we have this discussion. I think maybe we can elaborate on it on another time. Yeah, definitely. But thank you very much for coming.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Sharp. And we are out. Tango.